What does Bonner's addition now mean for the Fever's title potential?
I think the Indiana Fever, with the addition of DeWanna Bonner, after already adding Natasha Howard and Sophie Cunningham, are now in the championship conversation, along with the New York Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx, and the Las Vegas.
Danielle Bonner just sent shockwaves through the WNBA, but instead of joining forces with her wife, Alyssa Thomas, in Phoenix, she made a bold move to Indiana. Bonner packed her bags to the Fever, where she'll be teaming up with none other than Caitlin Clark, leaving Thomas fuming.
DeWanna Bonner, while she's in Indiana, in Indianapolis for the Indiana Fever, she will be separated from her wife, well, soon-to-be wife, Alyssa Thomas. They are currently engaged, okay? Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner, for years, have been teammates at the Connecticut.
You're probably wondering what's going on here. Well, we're about to break down exactly why this move instantly makes the Fever a contender, and why Alyssa Thomas isn't taking it well. Stick around to see how this power move is shaking up the entire WNBA. Ready? Let's dive in.
All the trades and all the moves and everything, it takes you a while to get to DeWanna Bonner, but her going to Indiana is, I mean, with what they now have, they already had it.
You know what's crazy? DeWanna Bonner just turned the WNBA upside down, and not just with her killer crossover. This six-time All-Star had a big decision to make this offseason, and everyone thought it was a no-brainer. Join her wife, Alyssa Thomas, in Phoenix and chase another championship, right?
That's a lot. Okay, she's going to be in Indiana and Indy, whereas her wife, Alyssa Thomas, will be in Phoenix Mercury. I'm sorry, she'll be a Mercury at Phoenix Mercury, but she'll be in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, two totally different regions of the U.S., right? So again, it's like the fact that I'm sure that money talked, and Stephanie White is the head coach. I would love to play for Stephanie White. She's an amazing.
She threw us all for a loop, heading to Indiana instead. But why? That's where it gets interesting. The Fever haven't even come close to the WNBA Finals in years. So what did Bonner see in Indiana?
The Indiana Fever as your WNBA champs.
Let's talk about what DeWanna Bonner brings to the table. She's not just any player. She's a walking bucket with 2 championship rings and a resume straight out of a basketball wish list. At 6'4", with a wingspan that could make airlines nervous, Bonner is a defensive nightmare, capable of guarding multiple positions or knocking down threes like she's playing a game of pop a shot. In the 2024 season, she averaged 15 points and 6 rebounds per game, shooting over 41% from the field. That kind of consistency makes coaches sleep easier at night. Heading into the off-season, Indiana needed a stretch 4, someone who could run the floor and provide versatility. They got that in Howard, and they got that in Bonner. These weren't the flashiest, biggest-name signings, but they were exactly the pieces Indiana needed to enter the championship conversation. But stats only tell half the story. Bonner has been a clutch performer throughout her career, delivering when the pressure is on. In the 2024 playoffs, she dropped 37 points in 2 games against the Fever, while also taking on the primary role of guarding Caitlin Clark. Talk about a job interview. She must have impressed Fever management so much that they decided, if you can't beat 'em, sign 'em. With DeWanna Bonner, the Indiana Fever have added one of the all-time greats, someone with major big game experience. She's a 2-time WNBA champion and quite literally the most experienced postseason player in league history. Her 87 career playoff games are more than any other player has ever logged. Now, imagine being Alyssa Thomas right now. Your wife just chose to team up with the Indiana Phenom instead of you. That's got to sting worse than an actual bee sting. Thomas is probably at home rewatching game tape, wondering what could have been in Phoenix. But make no mistake, Bonner is still playing at an elite level. She's a 6-time All-Star, earning selections in each of the past 2 seasons, and has received MVP votes in 6 different seasons, including last year. Her length makes her a weapon on both ends of the floor, allowing her to get shots off even against tight defense and finish through contact inside. Her game is multi-dimensional. She's hit over 600 threes in her career, but is also a highly effective driver, slasher, and passer. However, Bonner's move isn't just about basketball. It's about believing in a vision, even if it means stepping outside her comfort zone. And let's be real, playing alongside Caitlin Clark is a pretty sweet deal. Yeah, that Caitlin Clark. The one who's been breaking records and ankles since she first stepped onto a basketball court. Bonner has long shown respect for Clark's game, and now she gets to experience it firsthand. Now, instead of defending Clark, Bonner will be running alongside her in Indiana, turning the Fever into legitimate contenders and shaking up the WNBA in the process. But the Fever aren't just getting Bonner. They've been making moves like a chess grandmaster on espresso. Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, and Sydney Coulson are all joining the party. It's like Indiana decided to build their own basketball Avengers, with Caitlin Clark as their Captain America and Bonner as the sharpshooting Black Widow. But why did DeWanna Bonner really choose the Fever over playing with her wife? Sure, the chance to play with Clark is enticing, but there's more to it. Bonner is reuniting with her former coach, Stephanie White. It's like getting the band back together, but this time with a chart-topping new lead singer in Clark. The Fever are done being the WNBA's punching bag. They're building something special, and Bonner wants in on the ground floor. It's like she looked at Indiana's blueprint and said, "Yeah, I can see myself in that penthouse suite." While Bonner has never played for the Fever before, she'll arrive in Indiana with plenty of familiar faces. She spent 2 seasons playing under head coach Stephanie White in Connecticut and worked with Fever assistant coach Austin Kelly and player development coach Keith Porter. Now, with Bonner on board, Indiana can roll out a starting 5 where every single player asterisk has been an all-star. Speaking of comfort zones, let's talk about how Alyssa Thomas is processing this news. Spoiler alert. Not great Thomas, known for her relentless competitiveness, must feel like she just lost the biggest thing of her life. And in a way she has. Her wife didn't just leave the Connecticut Sun. She chose to team up with the one player Thomas has spent all season trying to shut down. That's gotta feel like a betrayal of galactic proportions. Remember when your best friend ditched you for the cool kids table? Now imagine that, but on a WNBA scale. Bonner and Thomas weren't just teammates in Connecticut. They were partners in crime, stacking up wins and building a life together. They were supposed to be Phoenix * power couple, ready to set the WNBA on fire. But sometimes, life throws a curveball that even the best athletes can't dodge. Instead of suiting up next to Thomas in Phoenix, Bonner is heading to Indiana. And who's waiting for her there? None other than Caitlin Clark *, the phenom who's been living rent-free in Thomas's head all season. Remember that tweet? The one before Clark even played her first WNBA game. Yeah, talk about adding insult to injury. And let's not forget the * shoulder block heard around the world. Her 87 career playoff fames are more than any other player has ever logged. Now, imagine being Alyssa Thomas right now. Your wife just chose to team up with the Indiana Phenom instead of you. That's got to sting worse than an actual bee sting. Thomas is probably at home rewatching game tape, wondering what could have been in Phoenix. But make no mistake, Bonner is still playing at an elite level. She's a 6-time All-Star, earning selections in each of the past 2 seasons, and has received MVP votes in 6 different seasons, including last year. Her length makes her a weapon on both ends of the floor, allowing her to get shots off even against tight defense and finish through contact inside. Her game is multi-dimensional. She's hit over 600 threes in her career, but is also a highly effective driver, slasher, and passer. However, Bonner's move isn't just about basketball. It's about believing in a vision